Hey guys, how's it going? The May garden tour this month is sponsored by Deet, and yeah, I really just couldn't do gardening in Texas in the summer without Deet, so. Hey guys, how is it going? Welcome to week 21, I think. Welcome to week 21 and especially welcome to the May garden tour. Now there's tons of humidity right now, so my camera lens keeps fogging up, but it is first thing in the morning. We're at the end of May and we're gonna tour you around the garden so that you can see everything that's going on. We also have a ton of stuff to harvest today. There is a bug crawling on my lens. I don't know if you can see it. So, one thing I wanted to chat about is, first and foremost, I love having a big basket to harvest with. Maybe it's just kind of one of those stupid things, but I just love having a basket full of produce to take home. And so I always make sure I get a basket. And yeah, it just kind of brings this like beauty to my gardening that I really enjoy. So let me take you throughout the plot and show you all of the abundance because we've had rain for the last couple of weeks and everything's exploding. We will start in our usual corner with the lavender. All of this parsley has completely bolted. I'm leaving it for the bees. The bees seem to really enjoy it. And then our tomatillos are over here. I decided not to try and plant these out because the tomatillos are just like so out of control. And honestly, y'all, we had that crazy freeze in February, right? And it sent every natively like seeding wildflower into overdrive. And so we've got like random sunflowers coming up everywhere. The garden feels wild right now, like in its most wild true form. Here are tomatillos. Now I gotta get up under here and harvest a bunch of these. And then, look at these sweet little sunflowers that my plot neighbors are growing. And honestly, there's a good chance that these sunflowers, and that's a sunflower, there's a really good chance that those actually seeded from my sunflowers that I was growing here last year, because those are my neighbor's plots and I haven't seen those two people for a very long time. So I have a hard time believing that they planted those on purpose. I think those might have been a gift from me to them, whether they liked it or not. Where things get crazy. This is supposed to be me and my plot neighbor's path, but his plot's like totally lush. So we've got some spearmint and some flowers. I think there's a zinnia popping up. There's peppermint. Like, I don't even want to walk through here. These are all beets that he grows that are like amazing. And then I have some sunflowers planted in some of these blank spots, and then I have these zinnias coming up. But overall, I gotta get some of that sage today. It's pretty large. These are some beautiful zinnias that have popped back up. And then this is calendula that reseeded itself. So this calendula is really beautiful. Oregano, this will be harvested like crazy today. And then more zinnia. That looks like it might be a meteor red. And then the other ones, I don't remember where I put anything, so that's fine. These are tomatoes. If you saw one of my videos, one of my vlogs, a couple of vlogs ago, I had like an awful, terrible gardening week. Like, awful gardening week. And I basically just lost a lot of stuff. So I lost a lot of my tomato plants here at the plot because of curly leaf virus. And as these tomato plants continue to grow, there's definitely a couple more that are suffering from curly virus, curly leaf virus, whatever. It's spread by whiteflies. It can also be in the soil that you use. So I will be chopping down 1, 2, 3 more tomato plants. So out of the 10 that started here at the plot, there will be 2 that look like they are unaffected, and there will only be 2 that survive. So that's a little bit sad, but you know, things happen and you kind of just have to roll with the punches. However, this space was supposed to be focused on peppers, and it is. And man, y'all, the peppers. They're a little bit weedy in here. I have yet to come clean this up because I have been busy and it just stopped raining like 2 days ago. So if we come in here, these are all orange bells. They're looking nice and fat. They've just got to ripen. So none of those are quite ready to pick yet. And then these are, ooh, these are some good sized jalapenos. And okay, so these are actually not jalapenos, but these definitely need to harvest some of these. They're getting very large. And as we go along this route, now I actually think one of the things I did really well was I gave these all ample room to grow. So these are Anaheims. I think these still might need to get a little bit bigger, but this is how big they are right now. And I feel like they don't feel quite ready yet, but they're getting big. So I'm not sure, I need to do a little bit of research, but the wools feel not quite ripe. Maybe I'm totally insane, but I feel like peppers have like this feeling, like they feel ripe. It's really stupid. It's not science. And as we come in here, now this is just some blossom end rot. This is just, this probably formed during all the rain. And so we're just gonna pluck him off and throw him in there. But this plant, I believe, is also some bell peppers. Oh, some of these peppers are getting tall, guys. It's kind of like low-key snake season here, and having things be this bushy and close to the ground, I wear sandals and I'm really scared I'm gonna step into somewhere there's a snake. It's fine. Welcome to Texas. These are the King of the North peppers. Now, I'm actually really happy with these because they're producing nice and early. So these King of the North peppers, these are actually formulated for northern climates. And they're early producers and they produce a lot. Now, I'm obviously not in a northern climate. I'm in zone 8B, I'm in central Texas, but sweet peppers do not do good in extreme heat. So once we start getting into those like 90s, 100s, these peppers, just the blossoms are just gonna fall off. So that's why I got an early producer that does well in northern climates, so that I could plant it in the spring and have plenty of peppers before it gets too hot. This one, these are my poblanos, so they still got a ways to go. And then the plant next to it looks like maybe serranos. Yeah, those are serranos. Now here is one of my shishito plants. And these peppers, we've been harvesting shishitos like mad. Like, it's crazy. These plants are very prolific. I have 3 of them, and I would say we get a really good harvest on these guys that like is enough to eat at least once a week, which is very exciting. And there's only 2 of us. It's just me and my boyfriend. So if you had a larger family, I'm not sure 3 plants would be enough, but 3 plants seems to be enough to give us like a good blistered shishito snack, if you will. And then, so I definitely need to harvest some shishitos. Now these are very interesting. These are mini chocolate bell peppers. So these are mini chocolate bells, and I am going to eat one right now. These were one of the things I planted. I plant garden snacks. And so I literally plant something like a sugar snap pea or something that I can eat raw in the garden, like while I'm gardening. And these mini bell peppers were it this year. Really good. Nice thick walls. Super tasty. They don't really taste different than like another sweet pepper. I think the novelty in it is the color. So if we keep going down here, here's a habanada. These ones have been a lot slower on the draw. Not really sure what's going on there. And then this is another just bell pepper plant. And then here's another shishito plant that needs to be harvested. That's a serrano that probably needs to be harvested. This guy, I don't know what this one is. This might be a poblana. Oh, this is another Anaheim. And then it looks like this is a bell pepper, and that's another habanada. Do you need a harvest? Because there's just so much. There's a lot to harvest in here. Peppers are one that it's hard to really realize how many are on the plant until you start getting into the plant picking them. But let's look at our remaining 2 tomato plants. And I can show you guys again what curly leaf virus looks like. It's just gonna decimate your tomatoes. Like, there's really not much coming back from it, honestly. But this is a normal tomato. Nice flat leaves. Here's another normal tomato, nice flat leaves. This is a tomato with curly leaf virus. I kind of already cut it off, but it's kind of mangled looking. It starts just growing all funky. Here's another one. It just doesn't have those big fan leaves. So that tomato is gonna have to go, and this one's gonna have to go. And I'm pretty sure that one has it too, but it's just slower to have it affect it. But, you know, it happens. So if we look at our remaining plant, now I do have a blushing tomato. So this one is blushing, and we're gonna go ahead and pick it. So this is my first beefsteak of the year. And the funny part is, I have no idea what this is. I'm gonna go ahead and make the assumption it's either a black crim or a Cherokee purple based on the fact that it's got this kind of like purplish, blackish, reddish hue. So with tomatoes here at the plot, this tomato will happily finish ripening on the counter. I just in general have less control over this space because it's not in my backyard. So when I grow tomatoes here at the plot, I actually grow them, I pick them when they start to blush, and I just let them finish ripening on the counter. And that's just because I don't know what wildlife is gonna go after them here. We've had people steal tomatoes in the past. So this is just something that I would like to keep in my possession. And like produce theft isn't something that happens very often. Truly, it really doesn't happen that often. But when it does, it's just kind of like a massive like bummer because you were looking forward to it. So what I'm going to be doing in the space where all of these tomatoes are is I'm actually going to let a bit of a melon patch take over. So I've started some cantaloupe seeds and some Kajari melon seeds, and I'm just gonna plant them where all of these tomatoes were supposed to be and kind of let them crawl along the ground, because the last thing I want in this space is something that's really high maintenance. And peppers, I think I would consider somewhat low maintenance. They just need regular watering. But I've really enjoyed having my tomatoes in my backyard where I can just run out there really quick, prune them up the way I like, for like 15 minutes and then come back inside. It's not this whole production of getting into the car, going to the plot. So that's something that I talk about a lot because I do have 2 gardens. So planning those 2 gardens and maximizing my spaces in an urban area is really important to me. I'm going to harvest all of this, and I will show you the whole entire harvest when I'm done. Okay guys, so we have a lot of good stuff in here. Tomatoes, some peppers, some Anaheims, some serranos, some jalapenos, and a ton of tomatillos. So these plants are going crazy. But I made a really good smoky tomatillo salsa verde last week. So I'm probably gonna make that again just to use up some of these peppers. But it's a good harvest today. Really happy with all of this. We are actually going to hop over to the backyard garden right now. So stay tuned for the backyard garden. And this is the community plot. And the garbage trucks are here. So it's either garbage trucks or barking dachshunds. I just can't seem to win. Urban gardening. You gotta deal with the trash trucks every Tuesday. So good, it's so good. I don't need to work in 30 minutes. I had all the time in the world for the trash trucks. Don't you worry about it. Bet this never happens in those rural farm garden tours that you watch. Bet it doesn't. Hey guys, and welcome to the backyard garden. So if you're new here, I have two gardens. The community plot that you just saw, it's 10 foot by 20 foot. I've had it for almost 2 years. And then I have this backyard garden, which I established September of 2020, so maybe 10 months ago, 9 months ago. Now this garden back here is based on a no dig method. I've never tilled anything back here. I just built some beds. I added some compost and composted cow manure, and that's what we're growing in. So everything's doing pretty well, but just so you know the difference of the gardens, that's kind of the deal here. Most of what you see back here was not existing before we moved in. And this is a rental, so I designed this space so that I could remove all of it and then put grass seed over it when we decide to move someday. So without further ado, let's go check out the backyard garden. Okay guys, so this is actually one of my favorite spots in the whole garden. This is my herb bed, and then up here we have Mexican torch sunflowers. I actually had to tie one of them up because they're getting really heavy and they started falling onto all of my herbs. So we have cinnamon basil, some rosemary, peppermint, parsley, we've got some random zinnias in here, and basil, and some mint, and some lemon balm. Now, this bed, I just like that it's really wild looking, honestly. I just really like it. I intended it to be a pollinator garden. Pollinators tend to really like the cinnamon basil. They tend to like these flowers. But I am discovering we just don't have that many pollinators in the area where my house is. Not really sure why that is. I've definitely seen them. Maybe it's been so rainy they haven't been here, but this was supposed to kind of act as a pollinator garden, not really doing what it was intended to do, but that's okay. So this lemon balm I really need to cut down and start using it for tea. The basil's getting a little bit choked out, but honestly I'll make a pesto that lasts us like a month. And so I really just kind of let my basil do its thing, because we really only eat it in pesto. So yeah, I'm not too upset that the basil is kind of taken off, but it's also really shaded by these Mexican torch sunflowers. So, you know, what are you gonna do? Also time to start harvesting this peppermint. That's what most of this is in here. And mint is a huge bully. That's why this mint is over here. But I love peppermint tea so much that I grew peppermint because I knew I was going to be harvesting it a lot. There's some flat leaf parsley right here and here. That's the cinnamon basil that the pollinators really, really like. Here is that beautiful Mexican torch sunflower. These things are amazing. And from what I understand, they do well in this area. So this one is super tall. That one had to get tied up. And then these are just a few zinnias. Honestly, I forgot what I planted, so it's going to be a surprise. And then the basil that is not doing as well. And I just like the look of curly parsley. I don't actually like to eat it. And then this over here I planted with sunflowers. Now here's what I have found with sunflowers. They need sun. So if your sunflowers didn't get very well established before you had 2 weeks of continuous rain, then they're probably not going to do that great. So that's kind of what I'm learning about the sunflowers. I've tried to plant them a couple of times and we just haven't had enough sun. Some of the more established sunflowers that I've planted, those are doing pretty okay, but sunflowers just need sun to take off. So it was supposed to be a bed of sunflowers. Not sure what I'm going to do yet. TBD. The heirloom tomato bed is massive. I can't believe that these were little baby plants like 2 months ago. I mean, I literally planted this out on March 15th. It's May 20 something. I mean, these plants have literally only been in the ground for like 2 months. I actually talked to my neighbor and I'm going to add some temporary fencing up top to tie the back plants to, because just like, for example, this cherry tomato, actually like part of it had like fallen over and I had to put it back. I don't know if it's gonna survive. That's where it fell over. So TBD, but that cherry tomato is kicking butt. That's just like a regular old cherry tomato. But look at that. I never even got clusters like that last year. Pretty excited. This is a pear tomato, and this one is a little bit slower on the draw. We've got a couple, but nothing crazy. And then this is a sunrise bumblebee that's doing well, and behind it is a Berry's Crazy Cherry. What I have figured out, these tomato beds are big and beautiful, right? But I can't access the tomatoes on the back row as much as I would like to. It's harder to prune them and just general more difficult maintenance. For example, if I were to be able to access them from both sides, it might be a little bit different. So what I might try and do next year is just have a front row of tomatoes, or I'm sorry, a back row of tomatoes, and have something shorter in the front, and then just take one of my other beds and do tomatoes that lean up against the fence. I think that's what I'm probably going to try and do next year, because I'm definitely learning a lesson about being able to access your plants effectively. So much rain, these tomatoes are growing so fast that I try and just pull suckers anytime I see them, because if I don't, they get out of control very quickly. So the cherry section, doing great. The heirloom slicer section, doing awesome. This one in front is a black crim. It's got a few tomatoes on it, none that are turning quite yet. That one back there is a yellow brandywine. I think it only has one fruit on it. That one grew pretty slow, and so I think it's struggling to get the light. And then this back here is Cherokee Purple, and this one has so many tomatoes on it. None of them has started to turn yet. And then this is just a red brandywine, and we've got some big ones on here as well. So this is the time in tomato season where you've got a ton of big juicy fruits and you're just waiting for them to ripen. And it feels like it takes 10,000 years. That's where I'm at. So slicer section, doing very well. I call this my sauce section. So these are all like paste tomatoes. The one back there that's massive, that's a Roma tomato, just standard Roma. And then the one next to it is a San Marzano. This guy in front is a Paul Robeson, and these fruits are looking just massive and really healthy and delicious. And then this is a Rutgers, which Rutgers was formulated by Campbell's for soup. So that's why this Roma is just a freaking tank. I mean, it's got so many tomatoes on it. It's insane. And it just keeps growing. And so that's why I have to add something to the fence. This fence is 6 feet tall, and these tomatoes are at least a foot above that. So yeah, the rain. I mean, happy about it. It's great. I also think because these tomatoes get a little bit less sunlight than maybe like my tomatoes would at the community plot, these tomatoes get at least 8 hours, maybe 7. And the ones at the community plot will get like 8 to 10. Like, they get a lot of sun. So yeah, I'm wondering if these just aren't getting as much light, so they're reaching a little bit taller. Or maybe I'm just really good at growing tomatoes. I don't know. The grow bag tomatoes are also getting very large. So that's another Paul Robeson. That's a San Marzano. San Marzano looks really, really healthy. And then here's just kind of this, again, a little pollinator section that the pollinators are not coming to, but this is lavender and some black print snapdragons. These snapdragons are really, really beautiful. I really love the color. The Alaska red shade nasturtiums are still doing really well. They're starting to get some yellowing, and I'm wondering if it's just because we haven't had too much sun, but these are really awesome. And then I have some zucchini. Now, the battle I'm having with my summer squash are are squash vine borers, and also this bed has so many ants in it. So that's what's happening here. We've got tons of the stupid squash vine borer likes to visit my plants, I swear to you, every single day. And I'm out here picking off eggs like that almost every day, but that's okay. I really love squash. That's what I keep telling myself. We do have a squash that's growing down there. Have had to start hand pollinating my squash and my cucumbers, so if you don't know about the importance of bees, let me just tell you, bees are very important. Bees pollinate like something like 80% of the food that we eat, and so that's why there's such a, I don't want to call it an uproar, but that's why it's such a big deal to have bees and other pollinators, because they pollinate the food that we eat. I mean, I have no cucumbers yet because there's no pollinators. Like, I have had to hand pollinate my squash because there's no pollinators, so I'm doing my best to attract them to my space. But, you know, depending on what people spray in their yards or in the neighborhood, bees just might not be able to live in this area. So always be very careful about what you spray. So I think I've been staying on top of the squash vine borer situation, but you never know. This was the plant that I had to do some surgery on last week, and it was really gross. Not my favorite time. And then just in the middle here, I have some green beans planted. So these are the Royal Burgundy bush beans. And maybe this makes me like a huge annoying millennial, but our dogs are very important to us. And I knew we weren't gonna really get that many green beans out of these plants, but I planted them for our dog. So we have, you've probably seen them before, we have a Boxer Pit Bull mix, and then we have a Great Dane Mastiff mix. And the Great Dane Mastiff mix loves green beans, like loves them. So we started calling them boons, and she likes to eat them raw. And so I planted, we call them Lana's Boon Patch. And every spring and fall I will be planting Lana's Boon Patch. We will likely eat some boons as well, but that's, you know, it's for her. Great Danes don't live that long, so we try and make every day, every year of her life really, really special. So she gets a Lana's Boon Patch just for herself every season. What do you think about that? It's so good. Here are the cucumbers, which are taking off because of all the rain we've had. But there you go again. No cukes yet, just a lot of flowers that need to be hand pollinated. But they look happy, and I'm looking forward to them climbing all the way up this trellis and having a nice green arch. And then I think I'm gonna get a Montauk daisy pretty soon, which I'm pretty pumped about. And then this is the bed where the garlic was. And actually I think I must have left some little baby cloves in there because I have no idea what these are. Yeah, some little baby cloves got left in there, but I am actually going to be planting blue pumpkin in here. So I need to actually get those seeds in the ground because I've said that I'm going to do it 500 times and I still haven't done it. So more cucumbers here, and then these are the Armenian white cucumbers. That guy's not doing so well, not really sure why, but these other two are doing really well. I'm trying to hand pollinate these two. Daisies, very nice. These are sunspot dwarf sunflowers and some chamomile. And then this is the okra bed. So I think these okra, once we get some good sunshine, are gonna really just take off, hoping. And then I think I had some failed okras over there, so I need to just stick some more seeds in the ground. These are just some sunflowers that are popping up. And then this is a cherry tomato plant, and the cherries are starting to blush, which is good news. And then here's Tomato Alley. And these are all my grow bag tomatoes. I'm doing an experiment. I am growing heirloom variety tomatoes, both in a no-dig method, which is what's happening back there, and I'm also growing them in grow bags to see what works better. I think for urban gardeners, whether you're on a patio or a small backyard or whatever, I think it's just important to know what works and what doesn't. And so I'm going to, once I start actually harvesting tomatoes, I'm going to keep track of the yields and see which one yields more. So the grow bags I filled with compost, some in-ground outdoor garden soil, and some black cow composted manure. So that's what's in these bags, along with probably a like 6-inch layer of just dead leaves that were in our yard because I was just trying to fill the bags, so it was a little more cost effective. For all of the same varieties that are in that in-ground garden, except for one. So this is just a regular cherry tomato that's doing really well. This is a Berries Crazy Cherry, and these clusters, I am just amazed. Oh, one is finally starting to turn. Pretty pumped about that. This is a Sunrise Bumblebee, and it actually looks like this guy is ready to eat. Really good. Really sweet. Not too acidic. And man, nothing beats that vine ripened tomato flavor. Just nothing beats it. 99% sure that this is a black crim. It's got a lot of fruit on it, which is good, but some of it is not looking so hot. Probably just because of the amount of rain we've had. And then again, didn't label it, don't know what it is. This one's the only outlier. So this is a Brad's Atomic Grape. And I think I put this in a vlog about, I got this as a free plant. And yeah, it's doing really well so far. It's pretty healthy. It just needed a lot more space. Again, this one, don't know what it is. If I had to take my bet, I bet it's a Golden Jubilee. And this one might be a Cherokee Purple, but man, this is the funny thing about heirloom tomatoes. They just grow so funny sometimes. And then this one is definitely a Rutgers. That's why I always mark your plants, ladies and gents. I think we are supposed to dry out this week, thank goodness, but man, it can't come soon enough. In my green stalk, I still have some of the strawberries that survived. So that is good, and they're doing fairly well. I haven't really gotten any strawberries yet. That's unfortunately just the thing with strawberries. You're usually not going to get any the first year. It usually takes getting them established to actually get some strawberries. So I just filled in that green stalk with zinnias because quite frankly I was sick of looking at it empty. I just didn't want to look at it anymore. I was like, this is just empty and sad, and so I'm just going to fill it with flowers and just try and get the pollinators to come, which they're still not. Blueberry bushes, I'm happy to see some new growth. I was getting a little bit worried that they weren't gonna like this new spot. And then this is that crazy pink Eureka lemon tree that I bought. Need the lemon tree? Probably not. Am I happy I have it? Yes. Thanks so much for joining me for the May garden tour. And you know, this is gonna be the start of a very hot, very humid summer, but I'm very excited about it. The plants seem to be all growing really well. I've had a couple of big failures and a couple of learning lessons, but that's to be expected. So starts the season of smelling like bug spray and sunscreen all the time. Thanks so much for watching. I put out vlogs weekly on Friday, plus some bonus videos if I have some extra free time. But thanks so much for watching. Happy growing, and we will see you here next time.